Hey everybody, Bryan here again. Nice little Saturday afternoon. Headed back to Foster Park here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I've been here before. Did a walk a couple times here. One loop one way, another shot another way. Today I wasn't feeling all too motivated to get out there. We had spent the day in a different city. There was a Scottish Highland Games event going on outside our town. Checked it out. It was really small, pretty low key. It was fun. Had some folks do the hammer toss and the caber toss and all that stuff, but had some definite criticisms of it. I think if you're going to be playing music loudly at a Scottish Highlands Games, you should probably be playing some sort of, Scottish music. It doesn't have to be bombarded with bagpipes and all that. You can have it a little here and there, but just something other than 90s alternative rock and country hits, stuff like that. Doesn't really give the vibe of Northwestern Europe. But oh well. It was a fun event. Stayed there for a short period of time, came back, got some lunch, came home. Had the hankering to go out and do a walk and talk, but I gotta say, this past week has been a little rough. You can probably guess why. I had such high hopes for Minnesota this season, and they had every piece they needed to complete a championship run, but man, Phoenix just had it in them. Alyssa Thomas, I said this last time, she's just something about her disposition. It's tough to fight. And when she's down, there's Sabali and Clea Copper. They just had the best for that particular series and got one over on Minnesota. But the loss I'll accept. Phoenix is a quality team. I wish the best for them. However, the way in which that series ended, it doesn't sit well with me. The little, simple tussle and then the eventual injury to Nafisa Collier. That was awful. To get hurt with, a handful of seconds remaining in the game, that's just ridiculous. And then for Coach Reeve to blow up and get ejected, that looks bad. You're on the opposing team's court. And if there's any common theme when it comes to criticisms that I've been showing in the past few episodes, it's that I'm getting a little tired of coaches kind of losing their cool. And it's one thing to get mad and feel a little anger at something, but to be that juvenile and to blow up and to have to be held back by your own coaches and players, that's a terrible look. I don't have any more patience for that. And they were right to have her, sit that final game, which would eventually become their final game. And I thought Thibaut did a nice job. Or Thibaut, sorry. Thibaut. Did a nice job in that game. He tried his best, but I hate using the C word. That common basketball term when you're up big and then you throw it away. Yeah, but I think Minnesota choked away a lot of those games. How much more of a lead do you need than 20? And you lose by 6? Was that game 2? That was bad. Every one of those games 3 and 4, they were up 12, 13 points, whatever. Had it under control. Then just kind of fizzled out, collapsed. But, jeez. I don't know, that's got me down. after that happened, I was like, just really dejected. Indiana, they gave a valiant effort. Probably everyone's underdog choice. Gave it a good go. Couldn't get over the Aces. I understand. I didn't expect them to. They gave it a good shot. But they've joined Minnesota in the audience for the rest of the season. Oh, look. Poor little guy. Hope he doesn't get squashed by a bike or a passerby of some sort. Anyways, going into this championship series, I've really been a little down on the league. Still pay attention. I still watch. Just, man. I think I just took that loss pretty bad. Really, the final 3 games for Minnesota I took real bad. But, hey, at least there's some off-court drama to think about, right? Yep, of course. So after Minnesota was, beaten to a pulp, Nafisa Collier came out to give a press statement about a discussion she had with Cathy Englebert, the commissioner of the WNBA, just about the state of affairs in the league. And I don't know if it was a good idea, especially the timing on that. You lose a big series or out of the playoffs. To me, the timing was off on that one. But she decided to make a little bit of an uproar, put out in the public realm what she and the commissioner had talked about, which appeared to be centered around, refereeing, physical play, treatment of Caitlin Clark, and this general feeling that leadership and those who hit the buttons and throw the levers for the league don't really care about the players. I'm not an insider, as I've said plenty of times. I don't know how much weight that has. According to Englebert, she was a little dismissive, disappointed in Collier for saying such a thing to her. I don't know where I fall with that. What I do know is the league is continuing to be not very profitable. Even with transcendence in the palms of their hands, it still doesn't seem very much of a lucrative league. And again, every time I think about these things now, I go to their short-term future. Portland and Toronto, Cleveland, Detroit, Philadelphia, they're all coming. Is it a good idea? I just don't think so. I think they're gambling with money they don't have. And they should probably pump the brakes. But they've been kind of floundering here really since the outcome of the initial birth of the league. Growing a little bit, losing some franchises here and there, coming back with a few others. It's a shaky boat. And I think they keep loading more and more on there in the hopes that at some point things are just going to even out. I'm just at a point where I don't trust the future. The CBA discussions are still not apparently solid yet. I still can't tell if there's going to be a season or not. Imagine being an investor with Portland or Toronto and you still can't get a collective bargaining agreement with the players. Get all this money ready, an arena ready, team ready, the logos ready, the looking forward to, drafting those players you want in your team, and it's just not there. It's sad. Honestly, it's a little pathetic. It really is. I don't know how much I can put on the lap of Englebert, but I do know there's definite problems in that league they need to iron out. And here's why. One, Collier seems to be growing a good sub-league with Unrivaled. If you haven't watched it, it's actually pretty fun. 3-on-3 basketball. It's a quicker game. The end game for each matchup they have is pretty interesting. I don't think I would ever really transfer that to the WNBA to make that better. I think it's fine the way it is. But the format is really fun, exciting. I like watching it. You have some great players. Helps them stay in the States instead of having to go out of the country. Instead of having to go out of the country to get their money. And they just expanded too. I think they went from, 6 teams to 8, something like that. To be honest, I haven't been paying close attention to it because it's still the WNBA season, but I do know they are expanding. They've been releasing player names to let everybody know, hey, so-and-so has joined us. All right, we'll go watch. I'm positive about Unrivaled, but I'm still kind of shaky about the WNBA. As much as I love it, as much as I have enjoyed transitioning into a fan of the league rather than just a cynical dismisser of them, I do worry. And I had a thought that came up a few weeks back. I haven't really shared it. I talked about it with my wife. It just kind of came to me in an epiphany. But with Caitlin being, on the bench, almost, I think it was the majority of the season. I think she was only in, 14 games, 15, something like that. On the bench for most of it. Coaching from the sidelines, you might say. If someone like Napheesa Collier is going to step up and go out of her way to criticize the league and the commissioner using Caitlin's name in the process, certainly Caitlin will respond. And she did. She said that Napheesa's points were valid. I don't know how to interpret that other than, yeah, what she says is true. At least conceptually. I don't know if it is in reality. There's still the other side of it. But if Caitlin supports Napheesa in theory with what she's saying, then what's really stopping Caitlin from taking all of her momentum? Remember, it's her momentum, not the league's. Talking with maybe some big wigs in the NBA, maybe some star players, perhaps one who is ready to retire soon, and say, hey, let's take on the WNBA. Let's get our own league. I can kind of see that happening. Because if the momentum is shifting, and everyone's admitting that it's really Caitlin's league, which I don't feel it is, but it seems like from a fan point of view, from a population putting bodies in seats, it would seem to me that she could really drive away a lot of folks who are watching the WNBA now. Not all the old heads, not all the folks who've been kind of with it for decades at this point, but those who were swayed because of what she had done in Iowa. I think they would follow her. I think having new eyes on that league may not have been a great thing for them. Because if you think about it, if you're a losing business venture, and all of a sudden you get all these people paying attention at once who didn't care before, what are you presenting them? Are you presenting them a robust league, a robust system, great player support, great culture, low drama? That's one of the things I liked about the NHL. I never really liked hockey until I just started watching one weekend, and it's like, oh, this is kind of fun. So I watched a little more, got my wife into it. We would watch games and everything. Where we live, we don't get the teams that we like. She likes Seattle. I like Toronto. But we would still watch. We would get a lot of Pittsburgh, Boston, Washington, a lot of their games. We didn't care about those teams, at least not really. I used to like when I was a young kid, first figuring out sports. Pittsburgh and New York, the Islanders specifically, they were the first two teams I'd heard of in hockey. And they became my, naturally my number 1 and 2, Pittsburgh and then New York Islanders. Then I just never really watched again. It wasn't really a sport I connected to. I didn't dismiss it. I just didn't really care about it. And I had to forcefully pay attention to it, watch a few games, try to get into it. And I got into it for a while. I did. We went to Canada for a while, specifically Toronto. Bought myself a Leafs jersey. I love it. It's fun. But it really didn't last long. But what I liked about the league was that it was pretty free of drama. Sure, professional sports, you're going to have a few folks that kind of ruin it for everybody. I get it. It wasn't the cleanest of all leagues, but compared to the NFL, NBA, yeah, NHL's squeaky clean. I can appreciate that. And that's kind of what I liked about the WNBA in a way, even though there was a time, again, when I got tired of all the complaining about pay. But that was a different sort of complaint. Nowadays it's plausible what they're saying now. But what I'm seeing now is more layers of that onion being pulled away. What other problems lie beneath the surface beyond the pay? Well, now we're talking about treatment of players. We're talking about the perceived viewpoint of a commissioner whom some wish would just step down. If you read comments for some of those videos that have gone out about Collier and Englebert, there's people just saying, look, Cathy, you got to go. You got to step down. You're creating a toxic environment. If there ever was a common term for the 2020s, it's toxic fill in the blank. If you say it enough, it loses all of its flavor. But in this case, I can at least see where someone might think, you know what, maybe it is a bad environment. Toxic, I don't know. Choose your own adjective here. I don't personally think it's necessarily what it's claimed to be, but I'm looking at it from the cheap seats here. Maybe there's more to it. Maybe we need more people just step up and say, look, we're done with this. Tired of working our butts off all summer, making lower pay than what we deserve, and then have to deal with this other drama on top of it. That's why I think it's very, I think, plausible to think that Caitlyn, let's say LeBron, let's say those two kind of put their heads together, because they are, from what I can tell, they're friends, or at least friendly. They say, look, there's a market for women's basketball in this country. The WNBA has shown itself to be a losing venture. And I hate saying that. Every time I say that, I'm like, ugh. And I like watching it. I'm a fan. I'm an open fan. But I gotta be real about it. It doesn't make money. Even with Caitlyn. Even with Paige. Juju's coming at some point. It doesn't make money. But if you take someone like Caitlyn and you put with her LeBron and the people he knows, I bet you can make a league that rivals the WNBA, hits the major markets, and gets players to move on over. I bet they could do it. And when I was talking about this with my wife, and keep in mind this was, I want to say about maybe a month ago, a few weeks ago. I mean, I was still watching every single game that was coming up. Still having problems with certain things, but very, very pro WNBA. It just occurred to me that this is the time to strike. Look what LIV did for the PGA. They're like, hey, you have all these players playing for you. They're not earning as much as they would like. So therefore, we're going to create our own league. And we're going to entice your players overseas to play for us. And it worked. Brooks Koepka, he went over. Bryson DeChambeau, he went over. Phil Mickelson. I think John Rahm went over there. Big names. PGA was like, oh crap, what do we do? Well, you get with the times. You got to adjust. It's not the days of Nicklaus and Palmer. Tiger's gone. You're not this bedrock of security anymore as a professional golf league. You can lose. When you think about that with the WNBA, they've only lost. Yet there's still a clamor growing for women's sports. You just need the right league. And I want the WNBA to succeed. I do. It's been a long time since I've really been into sports. And I thank that league for that. Whatever Englebert did, I thank her for that. If she had any part in that, I thank her for that. Those teams, I love talking about those teams. I love discussing that. I like talking to you, all four of you. Even the teams I don't like. I like a lot of the players. There's very few I don't like. And those that I didn't like months ago, at episode 1 of my Walks and Talks series, there are players I do like now. It just took time. I'm pro WNBA. But I want to remain a reality. If I care about the players, I want them to do the best they can within the best organization they can get their likeness into. Imagine if Caitlyn and LeBron started a league, hit the major markets, and Los Angeles had their own team. You call it the Mambas, and you get Jewel Lloyd to be the star. Just let that sink in. The Los Angeles Mambas and Jewel Lloyd is your star. How surreal would that be? As my wife and I were driving to, again, I can't remember where we were going that day. It just, when I said that out loud, I smiled ear to ear. It just made sense. If you know Jewel Lloyd, you know she's very, very much a lover, an admirer of Kobe Bryant. If you love basketball, you probably already are. Gone way, way too soon. But that hit her hard. She carries his nickname. And what a tribute. What a tribute to Kobe Bryant's legacy, to his name and his effect on not only Los Angeles sports, but the nation itself. Hell, I'll go worldwide. Then to start a league, have a team in his town where he I want to say did the most damage, but really he helped change the face of a generation of basketball. To name that team after him and to have his biggest supporter be the star, it would be incredible. And it could happen. If the WNBA does not look out, something like that could occur. I don't know. I don't feel this is a good time for the league. I'm not convinced what they've done with the expansion teams is really good timing. I think they were so entranced by this flood, this rush of attention, that they were like, oh, finally, we're getting attention. Let's go ahead and splurge on this trust fund we were just given. This wad of cash we were handed over with a little sticky note that just says CC and a little heart. Rather than invest it, take your time, make good moves. Nope. Let's spend it all at once, like there's no tomorrow. Well, that's the problem. There may be no tomorrow. Their best chance may have passed, and it may have been screwed up. I don't have to go all the way back to episodes 1, 2, 3, or whatever. We all know what happened after Caitlin came in. Yeah, it's a little pessimistic, I get it. Cynical, sure. But what else do we have at this point? My wife asked me today when we're heading out to Highland Games, what do you think the effect will be having Phoenix and Las Vegas be in the championship series? Do you think it will increase viewership? Do you think it will keep it the same, or will it drop it? I did not go to it will increase. As much as I think highly of Asia Wilson. And I think Alyssa Thomas is wonderful too. Hell, a lot of those players. I like Clea Copper. I'd love to have her on my team. They just don't drive. Asia does, in a way, but not in a way that crosses over. For those fans of basketball who have grown up watching the NBA, it's a different game. We have to realize that. It's way more physical than the NBA ever was. You can even go back to the 60s. It's not the same sort of physicality. There's something wrong about this. And if I haven't said it before, I'll say it now. I have a sneaking suspicion And this is probably going to get me in trouble. But I have a suspicion that the reason why it's so physical and why players are getting hurt left and right is because these are not very well-trained basketball players. Maybe they just don't know what they're doing. I watch some of these plays and it's like, what in the world are you doing? That's not defense at all. Some of them approach the rim expecting to be destroyed, and I don't blame them. Some of them throw themselves around like rag dolls, hoping to pull a foul. Yeah, you can get away with that in the NBA because it's fairly well orchestrated. But in WNBA, it just seems wild. It doesn't seem like deliberate. It seems very... I don't even have the words for this. It's such a crapshoot when I watch games anymore. Who's going to get hurt today? Who's going to take a smack on the face? Who's going to get a knot on the forehead? Maybe a finger to the eye? Who's going to get thrown to the ground? Who's going to get wrapped up in Brittany Griner's tree trunk arms? Or branch arms? Perhaps that's the better analogy there. Hooking onto someone and then raising her arms like, oh, look at me. It's painful to watch. These are just people who want to play the game. They love the game enough to devote their career to it. Is it too much to ask to have these referees take a closer look during the game, not when there's a timeout and they have to go to the little screen and spend their 5 to 10 hours going over a single play to see if there was actually a foul there? It sucks. Right now, my position on that league is that I'm a supporter. I want it to do well. I want those girls to get everything they deserve. And I'm not one of those types that's going to say, oh, well, you're not making enough money, so what you actually deserve to get paid is a negative number because you... No. That's juvenile. They deserve to have decent pieces of the pie. Shouldn't have to go overseas. But what the league and their administration, their leadership, the people who control, who have the finger on the pulse of the league itself, what they need to do is be very careful. Not get in front of themselves. Not throw a lot of money into expansion teams that may not even exist. But start taking care of the players they have. Make it enticing to go to the WNBA, not a last resort. This is why Caitlin right now has a really strong poker hand. If she can get in good with certain other people with power, she could overthrow the entire league on her own. And how do you think that would look to someone like Sophie Cunningham? Do you think she would come over? Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. Some of the players I love watching that aren't even Minnesota Lynx, I would go and watch them. I like them. Alyssa Thomas. Yeah, she's a wonderful workhorse player. She cares a lot about the game. She fights hard. If she left, I would watch her play in the new league. I like her a lot. That's what I would do. If someone stays in the WNBA and they want to, if they want to try a head-on fight with Caitlyn and or, let's say, a LeBron sort of person, or maybe some big business heads in the sports world wouldn't mind investing in a brand new league, I would still watch them, but I don't think it'd be wise to go up against them. It just doesn't seem good for the league right now. And that's the funny thing. The whole reason I'm doing these sort of walks and talks, at least from an external standpoint, internally for myself, it's just a way for me to vocalize thoughts I've had, maybe connect with those of you out there who've been curious about these raw, messy, unedited videos. One of the reasons is that I feel that there's probably a lot of you out there that may be in the same boat as me. If you haven't watched episode 1, I lay that out, why I'm doing this, at least as a fan, and where that fandom came from and where it originated from, because it wasn't always that way. I hated the WNBA. That was a stupid, money-wasting league that only catered to a particular demographic of player. I won't get into all that now, but as much as I'm still a supporter now, and I want to try my best to remain positive about this, there's too much going on right now that just hurts the league. The mismanagement of Caitlyn, the continuing problems with sharing an appropriate piece of the pie with the players, the exasperated, exaggerated, fast-moving expansion idea. No, it's not good. Yes, there are a lot of players coming out of college who've been looked over because there's not enough of a roster spot for them. I get it. You know how you fix that? Expand your roster. If you want to add new teams, you better be able to afford it. I don't know how they get away with this. 5 teams are slated between now and the next handful of years. If they're losing 40 to 50 million per year, even post Caitlyn, how are they going to afford these teams? On the good graces of the cities who have agreed to try them again? Cleveland, are you sure you want another team? Detroit, are you sure you want another team? Again, this isn't a new talk for me. I already talked about this before. Is Detroit really a hotbed for women's sports? Any of you from Detroit? I know you're a quick drive up from where I live, but as far as I can tell, you got bigger problems up there than a lack of women's sports. Same with you, Cleveland. By the way, I hate your team. I hate the Browns. They can go to hell. Browns 2.0 suck. You don't deserve a team anyways. You already tried it once, failed, moved them to Baltimore. They won a Super Bowl. You thought, oh, gee, let's get another Browns team. There you go. Go right back to sucking. Jeez. Cleveland gets another WNBA team. Good gracious. I can barely stomach the idea of Philadelphia getting one. I just don't see them as being a hub for women's professional sports. I just don't. Maybe soccer, whatever. I like messing around with the squirrels. I like squirrels. Side note, I was at school a few weeks ago, and a kid says to me, I like turtles. And I knew exactly what he was referring to, and I said the same thing back to him in the voice from the meme. And the look on his face was like it was like his birthday or something. It's weird how kids presume that the adults in the room have no idea what they're talking about. And they can slide these little meme comments and such beyond them without recognition. Not around me. Nope. A lot of their lingo I know about. But anyways. We got Las Vegas and Phoenix in the championship series. I was almost sure it was going to be another redo of the Lynx and Liberty, with Minnesota coming out on top. What a good end of the season. What an appropriate end of the season, but nope. Everything had to collapse like a house of cards. Much like the league itself, it seems. But maybe you have a different idea than I do. I am reluctant, but I am still remaining on the ship. I will keep watching. I will hope for a good, clean championship series. Good stories, such as, Dana Evans off the bench, scoring more than the entire Mercury bench on her own. Interesting. She's a little fireball, isn't she? Wow. Zipping across the court. That's cool. I like that. Remember, oh man, I forgot her name. There was a little small player. I used to call her Danger Mouse, but I think her last name was Dangerfield. You might need to help me with that one. I tend to have pet names for players. Sometimes it sounds derogatory, but I don't mean it as such. I mean it as a term of endearment. Almost like how you give your best friends nicknames, that sort of thing. But yeah, this Dangerfield girl, she's very, very fast. I don't even know if she's in the league anymore. But she was small, extremely agile, zipping across the place. A lot like Minnesota last season had Olivia Epupa. She was French, very small. And she was like this spark off the bench. Like when you needed someone to kind of light a fire under the other players, you put her out there, and she's playing really frustrating pest-like defense, getting in there, swiping at balls, just disrupting everything. Fans go berserk. It's fun. Gets traded, gets let go, put on waivers or whatever you want to call it. But that Dana Evans is she's just a lot of fun to watch. And I'm happy for her. That's, Asia can't front the bill the entire time. Chelsea Gray is great, Jackie Young's great, I get it. But it's fun seeing these players kind of rise up when the spotlight's turned on, when you're one of two final teams, and it's on your team to make sure you get that championship win, who's going to rise up? Well, Dana did. It's awesome. I think looking at the Mercury stat line, their starters, I think 4 of the 5 starters had double digits in their points. Had one person, I think, off the bench had, I think, 10. Don't remember who it was. Maybe Sammy Whitcomb. That's not going to work. You got to have a deep bench, and that's where Minnesota had an advantage. You know, if they could just maintain a lead, not squander it away, because their bench is incredible. Any given night, Heidemann, Shepard, jeez, give you a 20 easy. But yeah, though I'm not too terribly fond of this year's championship squads, I think it'll be a good series. It should go 7, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see Aces hoist their trophy in 5 or 6. And then there's next year, if there is a next year. You know, my wife and I got texts from the front offices for the Lynx. Don't ask me how she got them, because she's a Liberty fan, but you know, they invited the fans to the stadium, to Target Center. I think it was the night after their final loss, to celebrate the team. And it would have been nice to be there. As much as I am embarrassed by the way that Minnesota exited the playoff series, I do think fondly of them. I will be critical up and down whenever I can be, but I do love them. I think it's a great team. I'm fearful for the future. You can't hold everybody forever. I'm curious who's going to be moving out. I still have this sneaking suspicion, if there's a season, I can't get over this idea that Bridget might go. Her numbers have been really down. She can shoot, but her numbers are down. Minutes are high, but numbers are down. It doesn't seem to... With everyone else who starts, she seems to be the one that is just not quite there. I don't know if that's the best way to put it, because I like her a lot. She's one of my favorite players in the league. I mean, I didn't get her jersey for no reason. I think fondly of her, but I don't know what is going on. And I will stick by the idea that if she does enter the expansion draft and goes to Toronto, I think it would be a nice change of pace for her. She's such a likable person. I mean, I'd hate to lose her, but you got to do what you need to do for yourself. If that means sticking with Minnesota, hang on. I love you. I think you're wonderful. But if you got to go, you got to go. And I'm sure every team is kind of feeling that. If you're a fan of one of these teams that's been stacked for a while, you know what's coming. Especially if you're a Liberty fan. With Brondello leaving and Brianna being so close to her, I wouldn't be surprised if Brianna decides, you know what? I was at Seattle. I spent some time in New York. Got a championship. Done a lot in the league. Maybe I'll leave again. Where's Sandy going? Imagine Brianna headlining one of the expansion teams. Maybe Portland. How about that? From East Coast to West Coast. Brand new Portland Fire. Brianna Stewart. I hope the best for her. Again, quality player. Enjoyable, even if I am not the biggest fan of the Liberty. There's a little party going on over there. It's like a birthday party. It's kind of funny. Harry Potter themed party. I didn't know. Hey, how about this? I didn't know it was still okay to like Harry Potter. I know some of you who are, maybe you're semi-passionate WNBA fans, you're probably, very well aware of the J.K. Rowling problem, so-called problem. Maybe you don't like her anymore, but you still like Harry Potter. I don't know. I never got into Harry Potter. I'm very familiar with the politics behind Rowling's cancellation, so to speak. But does that mean you have to really down an entire series of books that have captured the hearts and minds of lots of young people out there, and hell, a lot of adults too? I don't think so. But I'm approaching the end of my walk, taking advantage of this wonderful day. We are rapidly running out of warm days. We had a good spell this week. Looking forward, going to hit the 60s. Some of you might be saying, oh, big deal, we've had those for a while now. Yeah, well, I live in the Midwest. So our weather patterns are determined by a random number generator. So I will take whatever string of good luck I can get. Oh, by the way, when the season is done and over with, I will probably continue doing videos. What they will entail will probably be centered around WNBA something or other. I'm still trying to find a good deal on a box of cards. Found some cool stuff at Target. Those little bag clip figures, little plastic ones that look like Funko Pops. They have a series of those that just came out, and they look great. They really do, and they were sold out at my Target. I might see if I can find some elsewhere. But there's a chance to get a Diana Taurasi or a Brittany Griner, and I'm not too. I'll just come out and say it. I don't really like either one of them. So, but it would still be fun to get maybe a pack or two to see who I get. There's an Afisa in there I love to have. There's an Angel Reese I love to have. Maybe I revealed my hand too much by saying I'm not a fan of Diana. It's not that she's a bad player. I came into the league at a time when she was leaving. So her farewell tour seemed to last forever for me. And even when she was gone, they would play all these highlights of her stuff. And it just... I don't connect with her. And then when I heard her more or less downplay Caitlyn, when Caitlyn was coming into the league, oh, here we go. We have some old head who knows the league in and out, shunning and looking down her nose at an upstart transcendent player. Oh, no, you can't have Caitlyn in the league. Oh, she'll find out just how we treat rookies in this league. Screw you. Easy to say when you've been in the league for 80 years, handed over gold medals. Hell, the last gold medal she got was basically a freebie. Look it up. I will admire her accomplishments while at the same time being a little tired of the rhetoric and the worship. I like Sue Bird better anyways. I'm too negative today. Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.